Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday night edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth. Please be joined by my incredible crew. Before I go any further with the crew, I just want to let everybody know that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Go to the chat room, or you can send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Also, if you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. You can find us on Twitter at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. And I should also point out, coming up later this summer, that the Motor City Mad Mouse show will be debuting on the Igla Corp Media Studios in Boca Raton, Florida, owned by Dr. Edward Hernandez. We'll keep you posted. Igla Corp is a technology-based company for which I am now the director of broadcasting for, and I'm building their broadcasting company side from the ground up. With that said, I'm glad everybody around. Jeremy B, getting a lot of activity this week for what week we have. Welcome back.
Good to be here. Let's talk some sports.
And we got the Tribune twins. We got Jeremy and we got George. I like those hats. It's okay.
Oh man,
we need to have Motor City Mad Mouth hats. All three of you.
Yeah.
There's only one Motor City Mad Mouth.
Yeah, that's it. We got, and don't worry, Mel. Tribune hat will be coming up one of these days before I get it up there. But welcome back for another night, Mel. We appreciate you staying up past your bedtime to do this show.
Yeah, you know it. Thank you.
Mel just turned 25. He doesn't have any problems.
Yeah, and Jacob Christner, long time no see, all about 2.5 minutes from
maybe so, maybe a minute and a half.
And last but not least, JB Ellis, one of the quarterbacks, my partner and a brother from another mother. Welcome back this week. You'll be off next week, and then we got you out nonstop for a while, but enjoy you being back, JB. You certainly had a great dimension to this bad boy.
Well, glad to be here. Good crew. Like to see Mel back. Haven't seen Mel in a while. I know he does a lot of Tuesday stuff.
Yeah, how you doing, JB?
Good. And we got, of course, Jeremy and Jacob, who are always around. Great people.
Yeah, well, we'll do the best we can to come up. And you know what's ironic about tonight is we had a topic on there that Coach John Bonamego did not want to talk about. So I decided to move it to Wednesday night, and you'll understand when I get to it in a moment. But let me go out there and reach out to the chat room real quick, and we'll see who's going to be the unofficial co-host here. What do we have?
Mark Malik, Super Bowl or bust.
Whoever that is.
He's talking about
one of my Lions flappies.
All right. And we got Will Vogel.
Good evening.
Will Vogel does a really good job popping into these shows. Ralph Williams, I'll tell you, Ralph is trying to get on JB's good side. He's getting something on the network, right, Ralph? Meet your new ally here, Ralph. He's a big part of it. We're partners. Well, Ralph, don't forget that, all right? So there you go. Pop in. Well, hello, guys.
Hello, Einstein sighting I see.
And there we go. Go ahead.
What's up, boys? How you doing, Wayne?
What's up,
Wayne? Make sure your brother and you are on the same page. I have a feeling you're going to be on the holiday version of the Sports Exchange next week. So let your brother know whether he responds to my text messages. I don't care. I know brother will listen to brother, and when boss gets involved, that Mitch is going to find himself getting an earful. Just kidding with you, Mitch, if you're ever out there listening to the whole thing. So, yeah, there you go, right? JB, this one's for you. Okay, I will not forget. I'm sure you will, Ralph.
They missed a great deal to be called Garth. That brother be called Garth. Wayne and Garth.
Yeah, the
Weinsteins are perfect opportunity.
Wayne Weinstein he doesn't listen. Well, okay, I get it. So there's always room for one Weinstein if he doesn't listen, but we're glad to have double W's. All right, let's get on to we have a very busy agenda on hand here. So we're going to start off with Jeremy Ballreck's story about player education, about gambling. All right, Jeremy, give the audience an overview about what you were looking to accomplish in that story.
I was trying to open the eyes because I saw that the survey was done where 80% of the players surveyed in the NFL did not know the obscure rule about betting on other sports while not in the team facility, but actually in a hotel or even on the road was still considered an NFL property. and that's the rule that bit Jamison Williams first and foremost. And that being said, the NFL has already came out and apologized and saying they may reduce that initial response to those penalties because there's so many players that did not know. Now, nowhere are we saying it just because you didn't know the rule and you broke it that you shouldn't be punished, but maybe the punishment shouldn't have been so harsh because of the lack of knowledge across the league overall.
Okay.
And
All
that they needed to do better about making it clear, which they have done this year already.
All right, let's go to the chat room. We're going over to George Icorn. I want to make sure that we don't forget anything that's coming in there. And, you know, you're going to be heavily looked upon here. Jeremy is the king of the chat. All right, well, all right. So, Ralph Williams, I'll tell you what, though, JB, okay, I will not forget. Good to know. Okay, thank you, Scott. No problem. You're making a good friend with him. Okay, now Wayne throwing his brother under the bus. He doesn't listen. All right, keep going. I have a voice good enough for an hour. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
He goes, he's older, and Wayne's World wasn't even a thought when I was born, LOL.
Good to know. I love it.
He likes to play.
I enjoy the candor in the chat room. This is the part that's fun. All I got to do is get these things up here. All right, let's see. He's older. Okay, let's go on to the next one. All right. All right.
The number one rule states do not bet on the NFL, which Jamison Williams did not do, first and foremost.
Okay, and finally, Jamison Williams wants to bet you. All right, go ahead. Read it.
On the Lions over-under win total. No, he doesn't bet on the NFL. He bets on college sports. He will bet the over-under on Alabama, though.
All right, with that said, the chat room is caught up for about the moment because that's about what it'll be. George, get your 2 cents in on Jeremy's topic.
Well, this gets crazier and crazier, but thank you, Jeremy, for the research you did to put that article together. That's wonderful. NFL, egg on your face, whatever we want to call it. Let's hope they get back to their senses and make sure that players are educated fairly, honestly, openly, and across the board. All the teams from front office down to the water boys and water girls, if you will. But, I mean, everybody's got to be on the same page. And I'm just astonished that the league has decided not to, train their personnel in better form. That being said, I hope the suspensions are reduced.
Okay, Mel?
Yeah. I don't really believe what they're saying. I mean, they also came out and said that there's some more suspensions coming today for the Indianapolis Colts and some other people. But, I think the NFL is trying to, CYA in this case by saying that they didn't explicitly express to these young men when and when they cannot do certain things. You see, it's just the young players that are getting in trouble. It's not the older players that are getting into trouble. And it's something inherent with these young players and, wanting to, do whatever it is, then just do the things that they want to do regardless of and knowing what they're supposed to do. But they just want to try to see that, it's kind of like your little child. They always want to kind of push that envelope as far as they can and to see exactly how far they can go and see if they can get away with something. So I don't, I don't believe, I take everything with a grain of salt the NFL says. I really don't believe what they're saying. I know when I was playing, you had meetings and they told you exactly what you could and could not do, and those were rules, and you abided by them. Period. You didn't get a second or third chance or anything like that. You knew exactly what the rules were. You couldn't go to Las Vegas. You couldn't go to Atlantic City. Those are the things that you couldn't do. And you understood that because they had meetings. They'd have people from the NFL that come in. Then they have officials that come in. Then they have other folks to come in and tell you to watch out for certain type of characters and different things of that nature. I mean, the NFL, man, I mean, they're like a government agency as far as, the type of people that they have employed there. They're all ex something, where they used to work for some type of government agency or something. I mean, they're very in tune. They're very smart. They know exactly what they're doing. And to hear them saying that, with Jeremy saying that they feel that maybe they didn't explain it explicitly enough to the players where they understood what they could and could not do, to me, it just sounds like they're trying to cover their behinds.
Jacob?
Mel, you brought up a really good point. You talk about it's the younger players. This is an era where this is internet. I brought this up about the Cubs thing like 2003 when they hit the home run. hit the home run, and the place blew up because there was no cell phones, no everything. You're just watching the game. You know what I'm saying? And you get to this. The younger players now, this is an era where they are in the world of TikTok. They're in the world of social media. They're in all that stuff. And the money, even if it's not 100% of the money, it's still more than most of them have ever seen in their lives. And a lot of players had a lot of bad habits even before they had money. So now, guess what? Money either shows your personality or exacerbates it. So, and then with this kind of world and everything like that, the younger players are going to get more and more kind of ridiculous in their own way, even if they're told, even if there's meetings, I think, personally to me, I agree with Mel, is I think the NFL is lying to begin with. And I wanted to ask you this, Mel, if you don't mind me asking you. What percentage in your time do you think of the players that gambled in the NFL?
I mean, I'm sure there was probably some, but it was very, very few. I mean, very few. You know, because in order to gamble back then, you had to go to Las Vegas or Atlantic City or the Bahamas or something like that. You had to go somewhere.
So you mean there wasn't like there wasn't like newspapers with like the betting lines and stuff like that, and they wouldn't just like call their bookies or anything, or because I'm just talking about during that time.
Yeah, that's over my head. You know, I was on the back end of the roster, so I wasn't trying to do anything incorrect. I wasn't trying to give them a reason to send me home. So no, I have no clue about that. But the guy, you know, when I played with the Rams, I mean, those guys were professionals. I mean, they came in. Jackie Slater would come in with a briefcase and slacks and good pair of shoes on. You know, wasn't guys didn't show up to work in sweatsuits and stuff like they do now. I mean, he came to work like he was going to IBM when he came to work.
And he was there 19 years.
He had good shoes, nice shoes, slacks, a nice little shirt. I mean, he came to work like he was coming to work.
He was there 19 years, so that tells you something. But that's the reason I asked you that question, Mel, because you brought that point up. It was the fact that it's like you didn't remember it was over your pay grade, and you're trying not to do anything to get yourself in trouble. You're trying that type of thing. With the money that's out there right now, even the league minimum, there's a lot of them with a lot of guts, and this is the most they've ever seen in their lives. A lot of these players. This is the most money they've seen in their lives, and a lot of them had bad habits before that. So that's what I was just bringing up, and it's an unfortunate. Personally, to me, I don't understand the whole thing. When they are making money off gambling themselves, I don't get their whole issue. They're thinking, to me, it's a hypocrisy. So it's like, to me, go ahead.
No, without question, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and it's like, my thing is, if you're not betting against your team that you play on, that you could do something to hurt your team so you can win money, then I don't see an issue with what you're doing. Say, even if you're like betting on tennis or something, like I don't see any issue with how that's hurting the NFL whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I think their whole thing is they want your mind when you're on NFL property, whether it's a plane, a bus, a hotel, the facility, that you're focused on your job, that you're not doing anything else other than your job. No different than probably any place that we would work at. If you're working at IBM, you're working at Walmart, you're working at wherever. I mean, they want you focused on your job. They don't want you focused on, your fantasy football or the line on golf or tennis or any other sport. They want you there working, and then when you go home, then you can do all that kind of stuff. I think that's what they're saying, that they're trying to impress upon these young men. But again, like I said, I believe truly, they're very clear. The NFL is very thorough in the things that they do. I think they see a problem with these young players. For some reason, they didn't get it. They missed the memo. And all of a sudden they're having a huge problem with these young players in gambling.
Okay, let's move it along here to JB. What are your thoughts on this?
There's a couple of problems with it. First of all, the NFL makes so much money off of gambling that without gambling, without fantasy and without people, putting their parlays, their teasers, from their home now with FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, Caesars, Barstool, who am I missing? How many different ways can we gamble now? And how much does that help the NFL? And why in the preseason do they send these guys to the locker rooms to talk to these teams? It's different than it was in Mel's era, where you had to go to Vegas, you had to go to Atlantic City to put it in bet, or you had to call a bookie, which, was illegal anyway. So you knew you were breaking the law. They have guys that come out during the preseason to talk to the teams and tell them different things that they should or shouldn't do. This is all in the NFL. Yes, the guys need to know the rules, but the NFL's just as much as fault that people didn't get the memo and don't understand what's happening. It goes both ways. As a player, yeah, you're hurting your income and you're ruining your reputation. But if the NFL would make it clear with all that they do and all the money they're making, they're at fault.
Okay. All right, let's go to the chat room. All right, Jeremy, I got one up there.
Is it okay for the commission to bet? No, it is not okay for any NFL official and any NFL coach or player of any fashion to bet on the NFL. This was an argument that I previously made for college teams and how they teach the athletes about betting. There's an argument on how inconsistently these gambling rules have been taught, details of the what is, isn't. At least no games have been missed to date, and they can adjust it. Absolutely, Travis. That's basically my point. And Wayne Weinstein also says betting on pickleball on ESPN Ocho there. That's the one that had me losing it there. A lot of you guys were talking. But the NFL says, hey, guys, no betting. But, wow, let's put a team in Vegas.
Yeah, all right, we'll keep it rolling along. We'll have a few laughs here.
You're my boy, Blue.
You're my boy, Blue. All right, I love the chat room. Sometimes these are really entertaining. We got to keep them rolling. Okay, go ahead, Jeremy.
A lot of young players obviously know the players and schemes of teams they just left. It's a competitive advantage. Jameson betting on Alabama is sort of like an injured Calvin Ridley betting on the Falcons. It feels like an easy money bet.
Last one, and then we go to the next topic. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Gambling was the only reason the NFL started reporting injuries. It's literally why the public injury report was created, LOL.
Well,
what do you bet? What do you bet? What do you bet? The Jimmy the Greek was the one that got it started in the first place.
Right. No, that's an interesting name. All right, next topic. Okay, longest active playoff droughts. Which team or teams will snap their streak this season? We're going to go to the Jets, 2010-11, Broncos 2015-16, the Lions 16-17, Falcons and the Panthers 17-18. Texans 2019-20. We're going to go around quickly. Lots of ground to cover. Make a pick or two, and then we'll move on. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I'm actually going to give you two, and they're both in the NFC. I think it's the Lions and the Falcons because the NFC South is the dog water of the league this year.
Okay, George.
I'll pick the Lions, and I'll pick the Jets with Rodgers.
Mel?
I said the Jets, the Broncos, and the Lions.
Jacob?
I'll go with them. Falcons and Falcons and Lions. I'm going to say that they are. I mean, by itself, Falcons. You're right. It's dog water, but Falcons are getting better, and I like Arthur Smith, and he can build an offense. So I like where they're going.
JB Ellis?
Lions and Jets. If the guy who complains about everything stays healthy.
Yeah, and I'll go with the Lions and the Jets as well. Let's get some thoughts from the chat room and see what they think. All right, Mr. Wayne Weinstein, we'll go through this one.
He says, I hope not the Jets.
All right, well, okay. That's guess he doesn't like Aaron Rodgers.
Vogel says Lions.
Patty Grimes,
a Grand Blanc, Michigan native, says Lions.
I hope
what
so.
else we got?
And Wayne Weinstein says something that Lions fans have said for years. Rodgers needs a colonoscopy.
Leave it to Wayne. Good stuff. All right. All right. Now, here's a topic that we wanted to make sure we had a good full crew on. The head coach is on the hot seat, according to Corey Benjamin. The Chargers, Brandon Staley. Okay. I'm going to list down the years and what we have. Year 3 has a 19-15 record in the playoffs. He's 0-1. The Browns, Kevin Stefanski, year 4 record, 26-24 playoffs, 1-1. Washington, Ron Rivera, year 4 record, 22-27-1, playoffs 0-1. Raiders, Josh McDaniels, year 2 record, 6-11, playoffs not applicable. Don't have to worry about that, anyways. Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, year 4 record, 30-20, playoffs 1-2. Tampa Bay Bucks, Todd Bowles, year 2 record, 8-9. Playoffs 0-1. Saints, Dennisallen, year 2, record 7-10. playoffs not applicable. And finally, Falcons Arthur Smith, year 3, record 14-20, not applicable. We're going to go through this one again, okay? And rapid fire. Jeremy?
Well, it's got to be Ronrivera, and I'm going to throw one not on the list. Brandon Staley of the Chargers.
He's on the list.
He's on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear the Chargers one, but
That's
yeah,
okay.
that's who I got. That's the
That's-
two that I think have the hottest seats in the NFL right now.
Okay, George?
I'm going to go with Mike McCarthy in Dallas. I mean, Jones is something else when it comes to naming coaches and that, but they just haven't cut the mustard down there for a long time. And the Chargers will be my second one as far as the hot seat goes. So I'm Chargers and Cowboys.
Okay, Mel?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Josh McDaniels and Dennis Allen. And Dennis Allen, because he was such a disaster with the Raiders. I mean, so if he is unable, and even though he doesn't really have a quarterback over there, if he's unable to do anything with the Saints this year, I believe because he's had an opportunity before, that's just who he is. He's just not a head coach material. He's probably a good defensive coordinator. He should probably go back to being a coordinator. Josh McDaniels, same thing. He had an opportunity as well. Now he's got a quarterback in there. They're making changes, wholesale changes. They got rid of the tight end, which, they paid him the money. Then they got rid of their tight end. They're all pro tight end. So I'd have to say those two individuals, because of their previous head coaching experience, are on the hot seat.
Jacob?
Eberflus. I'm going to say Eberflus, Chicago. Reason saying he's a defensive-minded coach. I think he's got a defense that's getting built, but he is in the most pinned against the wall position you can get. If Fields makes any kind of momentum shift this year with passing, but it's not good enough, Eberflus is gone because they're going to want an offensive guru for him. And if Fields would bomb out, if he has another year where his passing doesn't go well, Eberflus is gone, and then Fields could be, because year 4, I looked at Spot Track. Year 4, it would be nothing off their thing to get rid of him. Nothing off theirs whatsoever. So this is where I get the frustration with this whole thing. I didn't want him to play his rookie year, because this should be year 2, and it's good. Year 2, especially with having all those records for your running and be able to have all that excitement in Chicago, it should be year 2. It's year 3, and he's 5-20. I mean, he's against a rock in a hard place. Eberflus is. I think he's in trouble.
Okay, let's continue through the chat room. Okay, yeah. Well, when you guys are playing the hometown line, what do you expect? You have a lot of Lions people on the show. Chad says Jacob Clinton knows his sport. I love that.
Thank you, Mitch.
I love Chad Davis.
Thank you.
Chad's always
Thank
good
you
for a
very
few,
much.
man.
Thank you.
You changed your name, Jacob.
Thank you very much. I did not have sex with. Okay.
And Will
Staley should have
Vogel.
been fired last year, in my opinion, by Will Vogel.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to back that too. I think Staley's in trouble. I really do. And you know what? I believe that Dennis Allen could be in trouble. I'm not so sure about McCarthy, although.
Well, think about Staley real fast. They just brought in that new offensive coordinator. That guy could go coach in a hurry.
And,
Especially when
Travis
there you go. And
mentioned
you
that.
know what? That leads me to my next point, Jacob, okay? And that's Travis Holmes will save Brandon Staley's job. He'll continue his tradition of catching those unwarranted checks. And you know what? We'll see about Kellen Moore. Onwards we go. All right. JBLS, you want to mention more?
Staley, Stefanski, Vegas is gone. And McCarthy's not having any more sleepovers. No more s'mores. No more hot cocoa. No more Brady Jerry Jones hair in the middle of the night. It's done. Goodbye. All 4 of them will be gone.
All right. Since we have Confidential coming on, I definitely have to make sure this topic gets brought up. After all, we have another 30 minutes or 25 till we get there, but we'll make sure we fit it in. Okay. First of all, Chicago Cubs chairman Tom Ricketts talks about deadline strategy. Obviously, we're buyers. All right. I know we addressed it last night with a couple people. We have a few that we didn't. So, all right, Jeremy, reiterate your position if it hasn't already changed.
I missed the question, sir, because I could barely hear it. I don't know what's going on.
No problem. All right, let me repeat it. Okay, Jeremy, Chicago Cubs chairman Tom Ricketts talks about deadline strategy. Obviously, we're buyers. Agree or disagree?
I'm going to disagree because they're a middling team playing in a good division. Yes, they're competitive, but unless they move up to second place by the trade deadline, they're not making a move.
All right, let me go ahead and answer Chad's question. How is McVay not a potential hot seat candidate? I'll tell you why, Chad. He's going to retire before he gets fired. That's what I think. All right, onward we go, George. Let's talk about the Cubs. Ricketts.
Yeah, as I stated on 108 Stitches, I believe Ricketts, only because this is a tight race that they're involved in with the Cincinnati Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Cubs are kind of hanging around, hanging in there. Granted, they don't have a lot of talent, but they still are hanging in there tough. So it would be ridiculous for an owner to come out and say the opposite right now and say that they're going to be sellers, because they're still in the thick of it, the Cubs. And it's a passionate base of fans. The Wrigleyville fans want to hear good news, not bad stuff.
Okay, Mel?
Yeah, I'm with George on that. Yeah, I don't follow baseball a whole lot other than, some of the young players. They got that sensation up there in Cincinnati. You love what's going on out there in Los Angeles with the Angels, with their pitcher / hitter. And of course, we follow the Braves here a little bit. But as far as all that kind of maneuvering that they do, with the trades, buyers, sellers, I don't follow a whole lot. It's interesting to see what teams get load up. It's interesting to see what teams decide to bail on the season and then basically just pack it up and try to do it again next year. But other than that, I don't have really much of an opinion on there other than I kind of agree with what George said.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, we have two Cubbies here back to back, so we'll start off with Jacob.
Confidential, which will be on after this show. One of the things that we talk about all the time is the Ross loss. David Ross, we talk about him and quite a bit. And the Cubs, one thing that a lot of us seem to agree with is they're a manager away from greatness. Because they've got a really nice little roster they've got building up. They just don't have a really good manager. And yeah, do I think they're buyers? Absolutely they are to do, because I think they want the team when they get rid of Ross and they go get themselves a manager. They will want a team to be able to build on to go get the right guy. And it's like, and how do you get the right guy if you got a bunch of minor leaguers?
All right, so you saying, Jacob, in layman's terms, are buyers?
Oh, they're buyers. Oh, yes.
Good enough for me. All right, JB Ellis.
They're really close in the division. The issue that they have right now is their manager's horrible. They'd be in first place if they had a decent manager. And they have one of the best farm systems in the minor league. So you got to be careful, because they have a chance to be good for years, not just make the playoffs this year where they're not going to win the World Series. So, yeah, I'd like to see them buy, but I'd rather wait another year or two when they'll be dominant.
Okay, let's go to a couple chat comments. Okay, we'll go to Will Vogel. All right, Jeremy.
They need to be buyers to chase the red hot Reds.
Okay, and then we'll go to another one. Evening all, King.
From King SJ.
Thank you very much, King. We appreciate you being back again. All right, let's move on. All right, we're going to go to Jacob's story. I like this one. It was really good, so I think it's good enough to bring it on here. Where is Dustybaker? Where are you? So with that said, well, we're going to go around the horn, and Jacob will go in regular order. All right, where is that? Well, you know what? No, we won't. We're going to go with Jacob. Give me the reason why you wrote this story and fill people in that haven't seen it.
Well, I did an article. I wrote an article, and it's on the Tribune South, and it's also on the Scriber magazine. The idea is, where is Dustybaker's second ring? The reason I said that is because Dustybaker came in 2003 for the Cubs, and ever since before then, they only had like 8 different players that came in their prime. Like they had a couple of the older names. They had Bill Buckner. They had Rick Sutcliffe. They had Rick Sutcliffe. They got Andre Dawson on his, and not even here. These are when they're on their prime and at their power. Sammy Sosa wasn't even at his power when they got him. So this is what I'm talking about. Dustybaker's when they brought him in, they immediately got Kenny Lofton. They immediately got Eric Karros. They immediately got everybody. And ever since that point, the Cubs, and even now, even if it's a very long shot and it won't happen, the Saya Suzuki was trying to talk to Shohei Ohtani to go to the Cubs. That would not have happened. That's like the equivalent of Barry Bonds going to the Cubs in his prime. That wouldn't have happened. So the reason I said this is where is Dusty Baker's second ring? It's because that ring does not happen in 16 without Dusty showing up first. Not only do they need a ring, they need a statue outside of Wrigley. And that's why I was bringing that up, because his presence, even if it ended not so well, his presence, everything on the Cubs changed the minute he showed up.
It's good. I like that. All right, JB, go ahead.
I get what you're saying, but Buckshowalter was there with the Yankees before they went off in the 90s and early 2000s. I don't think that it was Buck's reason they won, so I'm not going to buy that. Dusty's a really great manager, but he didn't win with the Cubs, so he doesn't get a ring. That's it. Stop.
I get that.
Stop patronizing the man. Great manager. He doesn't deserve a second ring.
George?
There's a lot of managers that won one championship, and I'll tell you what, Dusty has got the respect of myself and a lot of people in baseball. He's done a terrific job. I mean, he should have more rings. He should have 3 rings, 4 rings. I mean, I list him as far as modern era. I list him as one of the top managers that I've seen, and I agree with JB. I mean, I'm not going to jump on it because I think that Dusty is a fine guy and he's great to get along with. He earns the respect of all the players, and that's what I got to say about it.
What about you, Jeremy?
Great players, manager. He's had his success. He wasn't there when they won it. I don't think he'll get his second ring.
No, you're right. You're right. I just wanted to say to everybody, it's probably more of a facetious thing when I said it, but I was trying to bring it into the.
Oh, I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm just saying going forward, because by the time he builds a team to where it's ready, the people that run the team will get tired of him again.
Yeah.
Because he's building a team up to where it's good, and then by the time it's good, he always gets ran off.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to elaborate on that point in a moment, but I'll let Mel talk about it. I've got one that really stands out. Go ahead, Mel.
Jeremy, I mean, Dusty's been at this thing for a long time, and I was glad to see him win it finally last year. I mean, back from when he was in San Francisco and had Barry Bonds and they were knocking on the door. I mean, everywhere he's gone, he's had the team in the mix. He's taken the team to the World Series everywhere that he's gone. And I was finally glad to see him finally get one last year because he deserved it. To me, I don't know him as far as a coach. I got a buddy that I went to college with that is related to Dusty somehow or another. And, everything I've seen from him on television, man, is he's a class guy, class act. The reason why they hired him for this particular job that he has right now is because all the turmoil that they're dealing with from the sign stealing thing that went on, that they needed a clean cut guy to come in there with the right image to try to erase that bad history that they had. And Dusty went into a difficult situation. I mean, I believe he came out of retirement into a difficult situation and ended up taking that team and winning it all. So I have nothing but admiration for him, nothing but true respect for him and all the things that he's done in the game of baseball as a manager.
Yeah, all I'll say about the subject is 2 things. One, I'm glad he got his ring with Houston, especially under adverse circumstances. But the guy that should have deserved a ring for the Arizona Diamondbacks 2001 series should have been Buck Showalter, not Bobbrenley. That's what I think. He built the team.
And I'll say this, and we go on to the.
Well, let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, that's all right. Bobbrenley inherited Buck Showalter's team that he built from the ground up. Buck Showalter should have gotten the ring. Bobbrenley hasn't gotten a job since. That's all I have to say. Go ahead, Jacob.
Then real quickly, the reason was I've been a fan since '84. I've seen some of the worst, horrible, ridiculous Cubs teams you could ever get in your life. They start 0-14 in '97. I've seen it all. And it's like some of the players that the Cubs have a chance of getting now in these eras, like the Cubs in '04, even they didn't win anything, got Nomar Garcia-Parra and Greg Maddux in the same boat. And it's like, that doesn't happen in any eras. And then when Dusty was gone, it's Lou Piniella, another legend. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's the presence of the idea that the expectations of the Cubs changed is what I'm bringing up. It's the changed expectations. It's like the lovable losers is no more. Now we've got a World Series, and I do thank him for that because we get time after time after time, we're in the mix for names, which I never saw in those early years.
Okay, Jeremy, back to the chat room.
Chad DeTama says, if the Vikings make the playoffs again, Brian Flores will be a top head coaching candidate along with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn.
I like that comment. All right. Well, so here, let's go to Will Vogel. All right.
I agree. He deserves a ring for 2016.
Okay. Fair enough. He's entitled to his opinion.
And Chad DeTima says Kirk Gibson's fingerprints were all over that Arizona team. And he's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
He was a part of that office.
Good stuff there, Chad. Appreciate you, pal. You always come up with some timely ones. All right, on to the next topic. This is something I really saw today that I was really, really, really happy about. Hockey news. Tennessee State University becomes the first HBCU to offer a men's ice hockey program. I'm sure the Nashville Predators are ecstatic about this one. All right, go ahead, Jeremy.
Kudos to them. I mean, let's look at it like it is. Historically, hockey has not been the best sport for that ethnic group, and it's great to see them do something to promote it and make it better and give them better opportunities to be able to play the sport, because that's the only way they're going to be able to go pro.
Yeah, I like I said, I was ecstatic to see this news, and that's why I had to insert it in our lineup tonight. George?
Yeah, I saw that too, and that's a great opportunity, and I'm happy that they're doing it as well. I think, and all of Tennessee, they're holding the draft tonight in Nashville. The NHL awards ceremony was the other night in Nashville, and I'm very happy that this school has decided to take up hockey. I only pray that they get a lot of kids that want to play. That'll be the determining factor.
Okay, Mel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. You know, if you want to diversify the sport, you want to try to introduce the sport to a different demographic, you have to offer something like that in HBCU. And that's something that's obviously, generally, as brothers, we don't particularly care for the cold too much. So ice skating outside is not something that we generally do. Now, I did because where I grew up and, what everybody did in the wintertime, that's what you did. You played ice. They stick me in the goal. I wasn't all that great at skating, couldn't skate backwards and all that other kind of stuff that is just stuck me in the goal. And I was just a goalie freezing my behind off in the goal on the lake. And, but that's what you do up north in the wintertime. If you're going to live in the north, you better figure out a way to make winters enjoyable. So that's either snowmobiling, playing ice hockey, or learning how to ski. And, I played ice hockey, and I learned how to ski. But, I think that's good. I think that, maybe UCLA will get an ice hockey team too when they join the Big Ten. So we'll see.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate you subscribing. God bless. All right. I'm only going to do two more topics after this. I want to leave one over. So that way Confidential gets started on time. All right, go ahead. Jacob, let's talk about hockey in Tennessee.
Well, I couldn't skate backwards either, but I had such long arms for being tall that they just all I do is just skate by him and just whack the puck. I played 3 years. I wasn't the best on them. Trust me, I was probably the worst on every time. Every floor, but that's just what that was. But here's the thing: I could not be prouder. I could not be prouder of this, and there's a reason why. Every time I talk about, I keep hearing this about they'll be in the inner cities. They're trying to get a baseball camp over there in some of the inner city areas. Once in a while, it goes through. Most of the time, it doesn't. You get these type of deals. Guess what? If the NHL is trying to get more "quote unquote" diversified, how about quit shaming what is there right now and just go get it? Go get this. This is what Tennessee State's doing. They're bringing it out there, and yeah, we are going to see more of the black players out of this whole thing, and there's going to be more teams that do it. That's all you have to do is go do it and find a way to get it, because this is an era where we can go get things. But then what the thing is, we're in a media shaming world of everything instead of doing. Tennessee State's doing, and I want to see others in different sports do. Just do, and let's go get it right there. And that's what I'm saying. I'm proud of Tennessee State.
Okay. Jeremy, read the chat. JB gets the last word on the subject.
Great to see an HBCU get a hockey program, and hope it leads to more in the next few years and years to come.
Our Mother Nature's acting up a little bit, so we'll make sure we move this thing along, right? Okay, go ahead.
Southern hockey teams are good with northern players.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. JB, you get the last word on this one. Like I said, I'm ecstatic that they're making the move, but go ahead, JB.
Listen, this is great for hockey. Hockey never gets spoken about. You know, it's one of the big four sports. Nobody talks about it. It's great to see it being diversified. You know, it's the first HBCU to have a team. You know, and I don't see why that you know, the fact that we still talk that way in 2023 in itself is pretty sad. There's no reason for that. And, you know, more power to them. I hope it does well. I hope they field a competitive team, you know, and if anybody that wants to play should play. Race shouldn't make a difference. You know, there have been African Americans in the NHL, you know, that's great. You know, I'm glad to see things like that. No reason not to.
All right, we're going to take a page of our basket bros that we talked about Sunday. I want to reiterate it. To this group, Wilt Chamberlain's rookie uniform sells at the auction for a record $1.79 million. All right, JB, we're going to go in reverse order this time. What do you think about Wilt and that jersey?
That's crazy. Anyone that would spend that kind of money on a jersey, more power to them. They got money to burn. Sideline Sports is accepting sponsorships. You know, go to JB _ the program on Twitter, DM me. I'll gladly take $1 million if you got that extra. You could, you know, get your name on our program all week long.
Attaboy, I love promoting the brand. So maybe Wilt will give you a little bit of things called DOUGH. I'm not talking about, we all know what DOE means. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
Well, that was what I brought up on the show on Sunday. I said 1.79 million. It probably should be more, but he's been gone since 1999.
Right.
And there's a set of people in this world that don't even know he existed. More they know the name, but he's been gone for so long. So if he was still alive, it'd been more. But 1.79 for someone who's been out past 20 years, been dead past 20 years, still a pretty nice little chunk.
Mel?
That's ridiculous. I mean, you know, there's a lot better things you can do with your money than spending it on a used jersey. You know, I understand that some people are nostalgic and, you know, they like to collect things, but that's just ridiculous. Some of the money that some of these items are fetching, I mean, I don't know. I mean, who are these guys? I mean, they live in the mother's basements. I mean, what do they do? I mean, I don't understand. They wander around with those big antennas on their cars. I mean, there's so many problems in this world. There's so many people going hungry. There's so many people that are homeless. There's so many other things that you could do with that money that, you know, we have way more haves. The haves have so much and the have-nots have so little. And they continue to flaunt what they have in the face of the have-nots. And, you know, at some point in time, it's going to be a problem. You know, the have-nots are going to have enough of it. And at some point in time, it's going to be a problem because they're going to get tired of being in this rat race, man. And, you know, people going around, you know, people just trying to figure out how to put food on their table on a day-to-day basis. You know, every day you talk about, you know, you hear about free lunches being given out during the summertime. Just make sure that kids have proper nutrition during the summertime because, you know, obviously school's out. And to see something like this here, I mean, you know, how much good could you do with that kind of money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, George.
I know, Mel, it's true that some people call it wasteful, but there are a lot of collectors out there. They really, really, I thought, put a fair price on this. And I agree with Jacob. I mean, he's been gone such a long, long time, and the younger generation doesn't remember anything about him, or Bill Russell, probably, Jerry West, great names from the past. But I think that, again, to me, I would never do it. I'm never part of that, but somebody out there wants to do it, all the more power to them. If that's the kind of way they want to spend their money, it's not just my way. I wouldn't do it.
All I can say is whoever ended up getting this jersey better have as good of a man cave as Jerome Jaranovich did, George, because when we had him on, that was one of the best man caves I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. All right, Jeremy, you have the final word on this, but you have a directive here. Well, go ahead, read the chats. Okay. Chad, our man Chad here says even Las Vegas is talking about it. Good stuff. All right. Let's continue with the chat room.
Not surprised, one of the greatest players of all time and did score 100 points, most in a game ever. Yeah, and the only guy that even got close to that was Kobe, right?
Right. Good stuff, Will. You're on a roll again. Okay. I know a lot about those three.
Will
George.
Vogel says, I know a lot about those three, George.
Okay, well,
And you're the exception to the rule, Will, because you may be young, but you're an old soul when it comes to basketball.
Yeah, you know what?
He takes that from me.
Let me tell you, Will Vogel does a heck of a job researching, and his comments. I've never thought I'd see a guy have a role the way he does, but this guy, the way he's established himself in the chat room, is what it is. All right, Jeremy, you had the last word on Chamberlain. Everybody else got their shot on this subject, right? Jeremy's the last one. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay. That being said, I am a sports collector, but you know what? I'm not stupid enough to pay full price for anything, so I get in what they call as a break or a raffle to get what I get. So in order for me to get in one, that would have to be, let's see, 170,000 people lined up at $10 a spot.
How much was that Billy Sims one behind you, by the way?
That was a gift.
Right.
Oh, okay.
All right, we got to put old Patty on there. Good stuff. I would spend Jeremy money to do it. Oh, I'll tell you. I don't know what to say about this, but all I'll say is we're moving on to the next subject. Any compliment headed towards you, well, is rightfully earned, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Well, last topic before we get our pals over to Confidential. Is Zion Williamson a bust? If he is, where is he going to get traded? All right. You know what, JB, go ahead.
It's a great question. I don't know if you can call him a bust yet because he's still going to attempt to play. Was it a bad choice by New Orleans? Well, I mean, the two guys in that draft were Ja and him, and they both have major problems right now. Ja's been better on the court because he's been on the court. Zion really hasn't. So, I mean, either way, that draft was just a bad draft at the moment. It's going to play out over the next few years. Too early to call him a bust.
Jacob?
Well, that's true. But it's like, but the big thing with Zion is the minute he blew his ankle outside of his shoe, blew everything out, and it was over. And the thing is, he's always had issues with his weight. He's always had issues with discipline. He gets very. See, the thing about him is his discipline. Well, let's see. I'm not 7 foot tall. I ain't 7 foot, and I'm not a hippie. But no. His issue is the fact that you'll see him in every offseason and he looks like the Greek god. He does. And then he gets a couple pizzas in him and he blows up again. And then he gets more pizzas in him when his ankles hurt. And then it's the issue. His issue is he's missed 64% of his games in his career. And then you get all this, and then when he's out, he eats more. He doesn't have discipline to be able to keep the thing going. I don't see his career. And where would he go now? Who wants to? Maybe a bad team that wants a name, but who else is going to take something? I mean, the guy has missed 64% of his games in his career. The only ones that should really take him are the ones that want a name and hope he goes. Orlando something or the other. I don't know, because anybody that's a contender, who's going to want to put up with that, especially when he's your most of your contract, salary.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say is Will's on target again. Zion is a bust. He's only played 30-something% of the games during his career, needs to lose weight. You know what? I'll interject this as we wind down here. I do believe he's a bust, and he does need to lose the weight. So, Will, I'm with you all the way. Mel, go ahead.
I wouldn't say it's a bust. I'd say it's too early to tell. I think the problem, the biggest problem with Zion is he can't stay healthy. That's his biggest problem. He can't stay healthy. When he's on the floor, we've seen what he's done. He's put up, all-star numbers, all NBA numbers. And the other problem is, you're paying these guys too soon, too fast. And, you're seeing these characteristics of these guys that, all they want to do is get the money. Now, maybe if you put some adult entertainers out there with him, maybe he'll get out there on the floor a little bit more. Adult entertainers.
Miami Tropics.
You get a couple of those gals out there with him as his teammates, maybe he'll play a little bit more.
All right, George.
Well, Zion turns 23 on July 6th, rather. And yeah, to me, he has just not cut it. And you're right, Mel. He's had so many injuries. Big body, 6'6", 284. Rumor out there now is maybe the Raptors would like to make a trade to get him. I don't know if that's a good fit either. But I don't want to call him a bust, but boy, oh boy, as days and seasons go on, he certainly hasn't performed up to the capabilities that at least I thought and most basketball fans thought he would do with the New Orleans Pelicans.
All right, Jeremy, I'm giving you the opportunity for these three before you get your word. Patty Grimes.
Please, no Zion to the Pistons. It's Blake Griffin all over again.
All right, let's go.
Might still be early, but the signs are there of him being a bust.
And the last one.
I could see Charlotte
Last
being
one.
a team
Okay,
taking
next
Zion.
Will loves that idea.
Yeah, I'm sure. I do not want to see
Okay.
how things
Now, my
grade.
take on it. Oh, I
Wait,
do
I
not
do not
want
want-
Zion here in Toronto, King
Right, go
SK
ahead.
says.
Okay.
That being said, yes, he has only played 33% of his games. Yes, he's missed 66 due to being overweight and it causing issues with his legs. But the problem with that, you can't call a guy that averages 27 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks a bust.
Okay. All
Hey,
right,
Mel,
JB.
too quickly, and I got to get it. Mel, I wanted to say this to you with it. How did we know they get paid too fast, too quick? But how do you? What do you expect the players to do when you give Mel Tucker? When you give Mel Tucker after 1 year in like the 8-year contract over in Michigan State, and he's going to bomb out of that, and they're going to have to pay him early that $95 million. You're doing that to a coach. The players going to expect it.
All right,
I don't have a problem anybody getting their money.
Right.
All right, Jacob. Cliff Notes version. How can people get a hold of you?
Sunday nights, Basket Bros. Monday nights, Pundit Views. No Tuesday, Wednesday. These 3 shows: Pundit, South Florida Tribune, and Confidential. Thursday, trying something else, and then other things going on. Also on Inscriber and South Florida Tribune. Hopefully, George read my article, and I did on that thing. Hopefully, he saw that also. So I'm seeing it in plenty of places.
All right, Jacob Christner off to Confidential. JB Ellis follows next. Okay, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
JB_ the program on Twitter. Sideline Sports every Tuesday night. See you guys in a couple of weeks. Enjoy.
All right, happy July 4th, JB. Have a great show later. All right.
Thanks. You too, guys.
You're welcome.
See ya.
All right. As we wrap this thing up here, there were 6. Now there are 4. Okay. We're going to wait on the other topic I had when JB comes back because it's not anything that's overly emphasized. We got to what we needed to get to. All right. With that said, okay, Mel Farr, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
You see it right there at Mel Farr Jr. It's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also follow what we have going on for the youth here in Atlanta and also in Michigan at melfar.org.
All right, Jeremy.
Oh, you know where you can find me. You can find me right here at the South Florida Tribune channel. You can also find me on the southfloridatribune.com with under the hash mark for the heading line where you find Motor City Tribune, where you can find me under a list of authors such as Scott Morgenroth and George Eichhorn. You also can find me on my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions. You can also find me on Sideline Sports, and you can find me on Let's Talk Sports, where I have my own show called The Jeremy Paulrick Show, where on Fridays and Sundays I do interviews. And then there's the show that Scott and I have called The Professor and Pupil on Sundays at 10 a.m. Check us out. We'll be back in action next weekend, not this weekend.
All right, quickly, Will Vogel, Zion should go to China. Not yet. I don't think he's ready for egg foo young and all those other Chinese dishes. Maybe a few years, but I don't think he's ready.
That's what he needs.
I don't think that Chinese food is going to help his diet at all. We'll leave it at that. I want to make sure we get everybody has a chance. I don't want Toronto fans jumping on the Lions bandwagon. Good stuff, Chad. Jeremy's going to be getting direct orders that you're going to come on by the end of July. Mark my word. And I will not build that wall. You're going to tell who to build what wall when you get in here and tell it yourself. But Jeremy has an assignment to bring on by the end of July, right, Jeremy?
Yep.
All right, Mel, we got yours. Now, George, you have an author in the house. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. This is my book. It's been around for a few years, but it's still a good read. And I'm a writer for the South Florida Tribune and the Motor City Tribune, as Jeremy mentioned. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com and also on LinkedIn under my name and on Twitter as well at SandGSports99. And the link to the book is at the end of my column. So you'll see a link to the book. And Scott's in the book, and he had a great interview with Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. And we got some nice pictures of a lot of stars in that book. So thank you very much. And you can watch me here on 108 Stitches and the Sports Exchange, other shows periodically.
Okay, and finally, just one more time, in case you're just joining us, the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube. South Florida Tribune, we're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Boy, I got a bunch of them that could be on here, Chad, for sure. Okay, send topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes doing all the things like putting broadcasts up, being a guest commentator, and working on the website so magnificently. And finally, coming up later this summer, the Motor City Mad Mouth Show will be debuting on the Egla Corp Media Studios in Boca Raton, Florida, owned by Dr. Edwin Hernandez. We'll keep you posted. The Egla Corp is a technology-based company for which I am the director of broadcasting to try to put that on the map. So we're going to have a lot of people that appear on these shows that will carry over to that platform as well. So we had a great broadcast tonight. I want to thank JB Ellis and also Jacob Christner. We also want to thank Jeremy Ballrek and George Eichhorn and Mel Farr for joining us. So I want to wish everybody a happy July 4th. We will be broadcasting a sports exchange on July 5th. George and Jeremy will George will be with me. Everybody else will be off, and Jacob will probably be on. So we look forward to next week. Meanwhile, everybody, have yourself a great July 4th, and thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Good night, everybody, and thanks a bunch for everybody in the chat room that participated. Good night. Have a happy holiday. Bye now.